Your grandfather's watch was built to outlive him. Yours was engineered to die before the warranty expires. And the worst part, you probably paid more for yours than he did for his, adjusted for inflation. The only 10 watch brands you can still trust with your money, your legacy, and the wrist of someone you love. That list is shorter than you think, and some of the names missing from it are going to genuinely shock you. Over the last 18 months, I've pulled apart movements, tracked factory sourcing, and compared bill of materials data across more than 60 watch brands. I've talked to independent watchmakers, retired factory workers, and collectors who've been buying and servicing timepieces for decades. And the results gutted me. Brands I personally owned. Brands I'd recommended to friends. Brands with century-old logos and heritage campaigns that could make you weep. Some of them are running on fumes and marketing. The movements have been outsourced. The finishing has been cut. The cases are thinner in ways that save the company money and cost you longevity. And nobody is talking about it, because the advertising budgets are loud enough to drown out every honest review. So today, we fix that. I'm going to walk you through the only 10 brands that still deserve the word heirloom. Not because of their logo, not because of their price tag, because of what's actually inside the case, how long it'll run, and whether your kid will be able to get it serviced in 30 years. That's the test. That's the only test that matters. But before we get to the 10, you need to understand who didn't make it, and why their absence should alarm you. Let's start with the brand that hurts the most. Hamilton. A name that once meant American-made precision. Military contracts. Railroad-grade reliability. Today, Hamilton is owned by the Swatch Group, and virtually every movement inside a modern Hamilton is an ETA or Powermatic base, manufactured in volume, decorated minimally, and housed in cases that are competent but no longer exceptional. Are they bad watches? No. Are they heirloom grade? Based on independent teardowns, the answer is a clear no. The finishing doesn't hold up against what the brand delivered 40 years ago, and the cost of a full service is climbing toward the point where replacement becomes more attractive than repair. That's the opposite of what an heirloom should be. Then there's Tag Heuer, a name synonymous with motorsport and prestige. But here's the uncomfortable math. According to industry estimates, the bill of materials on several of their most popular quartz models sits below $90. Retail, north of $1,500. Where's the rest going? Marketing partnerships, Formula One sponsorships, and retail margins that would make a luxury handbag blush. Their in-house movements exist, yes, but they're concentrated in a price bracket most buyers never reach. The tag on most wrists is running the same Sellita base you'd find in watches costing a third of the price. And I can't leave out Movado. The museum dial is iconic, I'll give them that. But iconic design doesn't equal heirloom engineering. Most of their lineup is powered by basic quartz or entry-level Swiss movements with minimal decoration. The cases are fashion-forward, but not built for generational abuse. A watchmaker I spoke with in Chicago told me he sees more Movados come in for full battery and gasket replacements than for the kind of deep servicing that suggests someone actually plans to keep one forever. His words, "People wear them until they don't, then they buy another one." That's a fashion accessory, not a legacy piece. Now, the 10 that earned it. Number 10, Orient. A brand most people outside of watch forums have never heard of, and that's exactly why it's here. Orient is a subsidiary of Seiko Epson, and they manufacture their own movements in-house in Japan. Let me say that again, in-house movements, at a price point that starts below $300. The Bambino line alone has become a quiet legend among collectors for offering hand-winding mechanical charm at a price that borders on absurd. The finishing isn't haute horlogerie, nobody's claiming that. But the reliability data across enthusiast forums and long-term ownership threads is remarkably consistent. These watches run, they keep running, and when they eventually need service, the movements are simple enough for virtually any competent watchmaker to handle. Heirloom viability at a price that doesn't require a second mortgage? That's trust earned the hard way. Number 9, Tissot. Now Tissot is also under the Swatch Group umbrella, so you might wonder why it makes the list when Hamilton didn't. The difference is value alignment. Tissot doesn't pretend to be something it isn't. Their PRX line, especially the Powermatic 80 variant, delivers an 80-hour power reserve with a silicone hairspring. Technology usually reserved for watches above $1,000. At a price that consistently stays under $700. According to caliber tracking data, the Powermatic 80 movement has shown impressive accuracy metrics across long-term user tests. Tissot's honesty about what it is, Swiss-made, mid-range, highly competent, is precisely what makes it trustworthy. They're not selling you a fantasy, they're selling you a mechanical tool that works. Number 8. Junghans, a German manufacturer that's been making timepieces since 1861 and still operates out of Schramberg in the Black Forest. Their Max Bill line is a masterclass in Bauhaus design that hasn't been diluted by trends or corporate rebranding. But design isn't why they're here. They're here because Junghans invests in movement regulation and case construction at a level that quietly embarrasses brands charging twice as much. The J800 series movements are based on proven ETA architecture, but regulated in-house to standards that exceed the base spec. And the sapphire crystals, the case back finishing, the dial printing, every detail suggests a company that still thinks in decades, not quarterly earnings reports. Number 7. Sin. If there's a watch brand that treats marketing as an afterthought and engineering as a religion, it's Sin. Based in Frankfurt, this company was literally founded by a flight instructor who thought pilot watches were overpriced and underbuilt. Their proprietary technologies are dehumidifying, Tegement surface hardening, magnetic field protection aren't buzzwords. They're patented solutions to real-world problems that have been validated by the German Federal Police, submarine crews, and firefighters. The 500M V6 series is a gateway into the brand that offers a level of case hardness and environmental resistance you simply will not find from any Swiss competitor at the same price point. These watches are built for people who use them, truly use them, and they survive it. Number 6. Nomos Glashütte. This is where German watchmaking starts to get genuinely exciting. Nomos manufactures their own movements, the Alpha, the DW series, in the town of Glashütte, which is legally protected under German law. You can only put Glashütte on your dial if a certain percentage of production happens in that specific town. That's not marketing. That's regulated transparency. The finishing on a Nomos movement punches absurdly above its price. Independent watchmakers have gone on record saying the decoration quality on a $2,000 Nomos rivals Swiss brands at $5,000 or $6,000. And the design language, clean, architectural, deeply considered, doesn't chase trends because it doesn't need to. If you've made it this far, you already think about watches differently than most people. These are the kinds of details brands hope you'll never look into. If that resonates, subscribing means you'll catch every breakdown like this one. No hype, just the data. Number 5. Tudor. Rolex's sibling brand, and in many ways, the more interesting one right now. Tudor took a calculated risk by developing the MT56 series of in-house movements, and that bet is paying off. 70-hour power reserve, COSC chronometer certification, silicon balance spring, all housed in cases that inherit Rolex-level water resistance ratings and bracelet construction. The Black Bay line has become what the Submariner used to be. A genuine tool watch that a diver, a construction worker, or a banker could wear daily for 20 years without a second thought. And Tudor's pricing, while not cheap, stays grounded in material reality rather than speculative hype. The secondary market agrees. Tudor resale values have been climbing steadily based on tracked auction data, which tells you collectors trust the longevity. Number 4. Grand Seiko. This is the brand that made Switzerland nervous, and rightfully so. Grand Seiko's spring drive technology, a movement that's neither purely mechanical nor quartz, but a hybrid that achieves accuracy within 1 second per day, is an engineering achievement that no Swiss brand has replicated. Their Zaratsu polishing technique, done by hand, creates distortion-free mirror surfaces on case facets that you have to see in person to believe. Factory tours in Shizukuishi and Shiojiri reveal a level of hand finishing and quality control that matches or exceeds brands charging 5 to 10 times more. Based on documented service intervals, a Grand Seiko can run for decades with proper maintenance, and the company's commitment to parts availability extends well beyond what most competitors promise. When independent watchmakers talk about the best-built production watches on Earth, this name comes up over and over. Number 3. Omega. Yes, a massive brand. Yes, owned by Swatch Group. But here's why Omega still belongs on this list. They actually put the money back into the movement. The coaxial escapement, developed with the legendary George Daniels, fundamentally reduces friction and extends service intervals. Their master chronometer certification, validated by Midas, tests for magnetic resistance up to 15,000 Gauss, water resistance, power reserve, and accuracy in ways that go far beyond standard cost testing. The Speedmaster has been to the moon and back, literally. And models from the 1960s are still being worn daily, still being serviced, still keeping time. That's not mythology. That's documented mechanical survival across 6 decades. When you buy an Omega, you're buying proven generational engineering, backed by a service network large enough to guarantee your grandchildren can still get it maintained. Number 2. Rolex. I know. You expected this one. And the reason it's not number 1 might surprise you. Rolex earns its spot for one reason that overshadows everything else: the service infrastructure. Rolex has invested billions into ensuring that virtually any authorized service center on the planet can source parts, perform certified overhauls, and return your watch to factory specification, regardless of its age. I've seen submariners from the 1970s come out of service running within Kawasaki spec. That's 50 years of functional life, maintained by a global network that shows no signs of shrinking. The Oyster case remains the gold standard for water resistance. The 32 series movements are refined to a point of mechanical near perfection. And the resale market, tracked meticulously across platforms, confirms that Rolex holds value better than virtually any other consumer product on Earth. The caveat? The brand's cultural baggage, the wait lists, the grey market inflation. All of that is noise. Ignore it. Judge the object. The object is exceptional. Number 1. Patek Philippe. And before you say obviously, hear me out. And because the reason might not be what you think. It's not the price. It's not the prestige. It's the service commitment. Patek Philippe has publicly stated and operationally demonstrated that they will service any watch they have ever made. Ever. That includes pieces from the 1830s. No other watchmaker on Earth makes that promise and keeps it. Their in-house movements, the Caliber 26-330, the CH-29-535, are finished to a standard that borders on sculptural art, with beveling, Geneva stripes, and polishing that serve no functional purpose other than declaring that someone cared enough to make the invisible beautiful. According to auction house records, a well-maintained Patek doesn't just hold value, it appreciates across generations. This isn't a watch. It's a financial instrument wrapped around a mechanical philosophy that believes time should be treated with respect. Here's the uncomfortable truth this list really reveals. Trust in watchmaking isn't about price, and it never was. Orient is on this list at $300. Patek is on it at $30,000. What connects them isn't a number on a receipt. It's a set of decisions made inside a factory by people who chose durability over disposability, transparency over marketing fog, and long-term reputation over short-term margin. The watch industry wants you shopping with your eyes. Logo recognition, Instagram presence, celebrity endorsements. That's how they move units. But units that move aren't the same as units that last. The 10 brands on this list were chosen because they answered one question correctly. If I hand this to my kid in 25 years, will it still work? And will someone still know how to fix it? So here's what you do with this information. First, stop buying based on brand recognition alone. A famous name is not a quality guarantee. It's a marketing budget you're subsidizing. Second, before any watch purchase, look up the movement inside. If the brand won't tell you, that's your answer. Third, ask about service intervals and parts availability. A watch that can't be maintained is a countdown timer to a drawer. Fourth, check the enthusiast communities. Reddit, WatcherSeek, independent forums. These people own, wear, and service these watches daily. Their data is more honest than any advertisement. And fifth, remember that an heirloom isn't defined by what it costs. It's defined by what survives. The brands that earned a place on this list didn't buy it. They built it, movement by movement, decade by decade. And in an industry increasingly driven by hype cycles and artificial scarcity, that kind of patience is the rarest complication of all. If this changed how you think about what goes on your wrist, drop the brand that surprised you most in the comments. And if there's an industry you want torn open like this next, fragrance, leather goods, headphones, let me know. I'll bring the receipts.